Is it an era? An era?
It's all good. We're here now.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
We are here now.
I'm still trying to. With Restream, we have been using Restream for quite some time. And so we kind of had it down packed. Well, I had it down packed as far as hit the buttons and everything. Over here, it's a little bit different. We don't have anyone in the room just now. Alexa, play anything back. Ooh, no, I guess we'll have to worry about that right there.
Oh, you want to play something in the background?
Yeah, while we check
Too
out,
easy.
see where we're at on all of
I'll
our.
go ahead and make that happen.
Do your thing, brother. Let me turn this down.
Gotta have faith in the real. This is the
Yeah,
face of
there it is.
inspirational skill. Gorgeous with the skill, so looks do
All
kill.
right.
Ugly with the truth, but a good look still. D'Angelo, how I kick life into your soul. Tell me, how does it feel? Riding the beat like Jesus got shotgun. So I'm taking the wheel. My drive is never reckless, messianic flow. Even skeptics get blessed with this unconditional love over the instrumental.
I am everywhere. We want to go ahead and get started. Before we get started, it's not showing up on your Facebook.
Now it is. It wasn't before.
Because I see a little question mark. And who we have? Is that Jay? Hey Jay Love, how you doing? Anyway, this is things that people don't want to talk about. Brought to you by me, God Level. Two of our panel, our co-hosts, are not here today. Diamond is actually on a spiritual retreat. He better come back with a whole bunch of stories. I'm serious, and I want to do it. My brother King Newborn is actually stuck at the airport. They have delayed his flights 5 times. I think this is over 2 months, no days off. What is she talking about? Can you see it?
Yeah, I think this is over.
All right. Private joke.
I don't know. Let's keep rocking.
All right. Anyway, my name's Renee. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I also go by God Level. I am a nurse. I am a mother. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a podcaster. I am everything good. No matter what people say. John, you want to go ahead and represent yourself?
I am John Nicholson, aka John Skywalker, the Sly Talker, lyricist, spoken word artist, martial artist, personal trainer, lover of life, student of psychology, and father. And the tunes that you guys were rocking to not too long ago is titled Wise Up. That's from my third album, Lightbenders, available on all streaming platforms. Look up John Skywalker, John Skywalker, John Skywalker on your streaming platform device. You will find all my music there. Dimensions, Higher Dimensions, Lightbenders. Final Dimensions, or Final Dimension, I'm sorry, should be coming out next week. Oh my gosh. Next year, January. That's what we're aiming for. So you guys should go ahead and listen to the other two if you haven't heard. And yeah, Final Dimension will make a lot more sense.
When you say next,
you could just listen. You can do that too. Just listen.
When you said next week, I thought this man been busy.
I've been making the tracks. It's just getting them mixed and mastered. And then, with the whole family thing, it's not really the same anymore. So
there go Dre. Hey Dre.
Yeah.
I wanted to say something. We had started off pumping your business last week We were supposed to have a gentleman on, so I'm going to go ahead and put that out there again. If you want to pump your business, feel free to give us a call. We will give you a moment to shout out your business, the name, what you do, your location, and it's all free of charge. And we're doing so in a way to kill the myth that Black people don't support other Black businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And tonight's topic is self talk.
Yes, yes, yes.
You want to open the door, or do you want me
Yeah.
to?
A disclaimer, everyone. We are not licensed mental health professionals. The discussion that we are having today is merely to raise awareness and inspire our viewers and listeners to be considerate of their own self-talk, and if necessary, to seek seek out the help of a mental health professional to address any of their negative self-talk. All right. So let's start off with the first question, as it is right down below.
What
What
is
is
self talk?
self-talk? What do we mean when we say self-talk? Simply put, it is our inner voice. Simply put, it is our inner monologue, not our inner dialogue. It is our inner monologue, and it provides us with an interpretation of our daily experiences. Um, and what's interesting also about self-talk is um, it can be unconscious just as much as it can be conscious. So it's not just what you are in control of saying, it's also the things that you're not in control of saying. So some of us have some disturbing self-talk. And then there's different types, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But just a little bit more on the nature of it. It could be random. It could be very purposeful. It could be internal, and it could be aloud. So yes, talking to yourself out loud can be very healthy as long as it's positive, deliberate, and constructive. Um, Most people have an internal dialogue, but only about maybe 25% of adults vocalize their internal dialogue. And about maybe 2 to 5% of adults don't have an internal dialogue at all. And I find that very interesting, but it's also a kind of a fresh concept. It's a fresh phenomenon to a lot of the psychologists that are out there. So it's still being studied, right? But while it's being researched, it's still worthy of consideration that we have a narrative that's constantly going, and it's important for us to be consciously aware of it, because that narrative that is speaking and guiding and interpreting and judging and evaluating, that voice is either working for you or working against you.
Ooh.
So just like with emotional intelligence, which we discussed last week, self-talk begins with self-awareness, mindfulness. Okay. So the self-awareness becomes a key in our approach that reinforces the fact that we are not our feelings and we are not our thoughts. But even with me saying that we are not our thoughts, James Allen, and if you guys don't know who James Allen is, I suggest you guys just do a quick Google search on As a Man Thinketh. As a Man Thinketh. Very popular book. Very popular book. Very insightful book. And it's a short read. Changed my life. Oh my gosh. James Allen actually says that a man is literally what he thinks. His character being the complete sum of all of his thoughts. Let me get that right. So basically, he's saying that our character is the complete summation of all of our thoughts.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't say our soul. He said our character. He didn't say personality. He said character. So character tends to be a lot more subtle than personality. Usually with a personality, it's pretty surface level. You know, you can see somebody that's jovial instantly. You can see somebody that's funny or stoic instantly. But someone who is humble or honest, that usually takes a lot more time for you to gauge that. Someone who's compassionate, it might take you a little bit of time to recognize that in the person's character. And plus, character has a different set of traits than personality, right? But nonetheless, we're not talking about the higher self when we're talking about character, all right? But character is pretty much temporary. Um, so despite that, we're having all these thoughts. Some of these thoughts aren't even ours, right? A lot of these thoughts do not belong to us. Some of our self-talk comes from our experiences, our social interactions with others. It's the things that your teacher said to you. It's the things that your mom said to you, the things that your friends said to you. And you carry those voices with you, and they somewhat become your own. So somebody teasing you, making fun of you in your early years, as a child, of course, you become very impressionable, and you can hold on to those thoughts to the point where it becomes an echo for the future, right? So what we're really trying to get down to is, are you a master of your self-talk? Now, I know I'm not. I'm still trying to get there. In fact, I hear most of the time I'm going to hear music in my head. I'm not going to hear talking. I'm going to hear, more than anything, I'm always hearing music in my head. I haven't mastered that. It's just always been there since I was a child. But I'm aware of this, and I've made some measures to try to correct it, to try to modify it. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Meditation helps. But the reason why this is also important is because self-talk really shapes our relationships with ourselves, and in allowing us to see things more objectively. So if self-talk shapes our relationship with ourselves, we also relate to other people. Therefore, your self-talk also influences the way you relate to other people. Let's go ahead and dive into some of the destructive ways of thinking, right? So when we think of self-talk, I really want you guys to consider it. We're not just talking about images for this episode. We're only talking about voices, all right? We're not talking about words that float through your mind. We're talking about the voice that you hear, all right? So I'm going to call off a few types of destructive thinking patterns. And if any of these resonate with you guys, line them up in the comments, fire up the comments, say, hey, I got a personal relationship with this one. I'm vulnerable to this one. I'm a dear friend to this one. All right.
Shoot, because I'm ready. Look, I'm ready.
Right. Obsessive thinking.
Oh, yes.
So now I wanna make
we're in a relationship
here. I want to make a distinction here.
Mm-hmm.
Obsessive thinking and rumination. These are not the same. All right. So I'm going to make a distinction here. Obsessive thinking is when you lack control over repetitive, distressing thoughts and images. All right. So you're thinking about something repetitively and it's distressing. All right. It can be, if I don't wash my hands, my son's going to die today. If I don't wash my hands, my son's going to die today. If I don't take off my shoes, a plane's going to crash. If I don't take off my shoes, a car's going to crash. Right? So we're talking about obsessive thought, and I'm not saying they're always rational.
Right. Yeah, because
OCD,
that was crazy.
OCD. So that's obsessive. Yeah.
I'm OCD-ish.
So OCD isn't just this knack for cleaning up. All right. That's OCD.
Right.
Then there's intrusive thinking. And that's basically unwanted thoughts, images, impulses, desires, urges. Um, they're usually cued spontaneously, um, and they're usually stimulated by something external or internal. It could have been an emotion, it could have been a feeling. So when we're talking about intrusive thoughts, we're usually talking about one of the symptoms of PTSD, ASD, bipolar disorder, sometimes depression, um,
Yeah.
even generalized anxiety disorder. So intrusive
Yeah.
thoughts, these are basically thoughts that just come out of nowhere. You didn't want them, they just came up anyways, right?
Right.
They came from the unconscious. Rumination. This is where you have the habit of obsessing over negative events that happened in the past. Okay. So it could have been um, that baseball game you lost, basketball game you lost, that person you hit, um, that fender bender that you got into, the keys you lost, you yelling at your son, you yelling at your daughter, you whooping somebody's ass. It could be anything, whatever it is that's negative. You can't go to sleep at night because you're up thinking about that. It's just replaying in your head over and over. That's rumination. Oh shoot, I'm broke, and you're just constantly ruminating over the fact that you're broke. You're not thinking of solutions. You're just focusing on the problem. That's rumination. Blaming. Blaming is destructive and it's negative. Blaming is when we make others responsible for how we feel. That's not the same as accountability. It's not the
Mm.
same as accountability. Blaming is based off of the belief that others have power to affect your life more than you do. So you made me angry, as if I have no influence or any power over my anger, but you do. Everybody else has the power and influence to make me upset or to make me, oh, that's a good one. Yes, a scapegoat. Thanks, J Love. Yep, a scapegoat. So we point the finger. That's blaming, right? We're pointing the finger. Um, Emotional reasoning. Emotional reasoning is when we draw conclusions based off of how we feel versus the evidence. Now, how many of us have done that, right?
We
I
all have.
Go ahead, go ahead.
We all have. I just did it recently.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
speak on it. Speak on it.
No.
Okay, okay. Too
No.
soon. All right,
Too
that's
soon.
cool.
Too soon.
All right, but I mean, well, we've all pretty much been there. So
We have.
I feel this way, and therefore, because I feel this way, it's the truth. That's basically the mind frame. That's the way of thinking, right? Fortune telling. That's another destructive way of thinking, where we start making future predictions um, based off of. Well, we make future predictions with an uncertain future, right? So we start saying this is going to happen, but it's not. It doesn't have a basis, and it's usually catastrophic. So we start saying, all right, dang, if I don't get this job, then not only am I going to be homeless, but I'm going to be a nobody and no one will respect me. Right. So we start fortune telling. And a lot of these negative thought patterns, they kind of coincide, they kind of collapse into each other. Right. Catastrophizing. That's a big one. This is when you imagine the worst case scenario as the inevitable outcome of a situation that you're worried about. Right. There's polarized thinking, aka dichotomous thinking, aka all or nothing thinking, aka black and white thinking. So this is where you think in extremes. Either it's this or it's this. There's nothing in between, right? And I used to be like that for a time. I used to be like that for a time. It's basically rigid thinking. You don't imagine that there's any middle ground. You don't imagine that there's any gray area. um it's the person who says either people are good or bad. So people can't be a little bit of both? No, either people are good or they're bad,
We are.
right?
We are.
But it's a
There's
lot.
not a single perfect person walking in this world. We all have our faults and our flaws, and we all fall short of that perfect version of ourselves that we have in our head. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but it's still destructive because there's no flexibility, there's no consideration. It's almost like you're right and you can't be wrong. Because you basically give this false dichotomy that it's either this or it's that. So it could be this and that and something else, right? But because you are engaged in this black and white thinking, you aren't considering any other option, right?
Mhm.
So it's a fallacy. It's an error in your thinking. Overgeneralizing. This is where you take one isolated negative event and you turn it into
A mountain.
you turn it into this never-ending pattern of loss and defeat, right? Negative event, one negative event, and it becomes this whole thing of loss and defeat, one negative event. So, example, you get a flat tire and you say, man, bad shit always happens to me. That's your thought from a flat tire. Or you lost $5 and you think in that way, or you lost the lottery and you think that way. It doesn't matter what it is, or you get rejected by a woman, man. It might be something like, man, black men always get the bad end of the stick. It really just depends on the individual. Whatever you plant up here, to you, it's gonna be true. You were gonna say something earlier.
What's the word that I'm looking for? The beginning, when you're growing up, the things that you have experienced in your childhood is greatly related to how you think and move and act and behave as an adult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Ooh,
Oh,
you better clean that up.
please, quickly,
Yeah, because
quickly.
Diamond is a Cancer.
John is a Cancer. Yeah,
Yeah, you better clean that up.
clean that up, baby. Clean that up real
Diamond.
quick. He was don't. I will leave it up here. Are you serious? J Love. Cancers and Scorpios have negative thinking.
But
I think everyone has negative Cancer. Dre a Cancer too?
Yeah, Dre's a Cancer too. Yeah.
I am surrounded by a lot of Cancer men. What's going on? All these water signs. My brother is a Pisces.
Yep. A lot of water.
A lot of water. Emotions. Again, how you grew up, what you have experienced as a child is I'm not going to say it's going to dictate, because after you become an adult, then you have to take responsibility for what you are thinking. But in order to do that, you have to be introduced to new information. But growing up as a child, if you are constantly and always surrounded by negative events, you will be conditioned to see the negative in the world around you. It was a show. I can't. What good is it? Good Times. I stopped watching it because it's like they could never catch a break. I didn't like that. I always wanted to see the good coming up because I was always surrounded by so much negativity. My childhood it wasn't peaches and cream, but it kind of dictated the way I thought, the way I moved, the way I behaved, the way I acted. even now, and that's a fight to switch that over. It's literally a fight. So you have, when it comes to self-talk, um, it's going to start in the morning. As soon as you wake up, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking about? Are you focusing on the good? Are you focusing on the bad? Or are you bringing in the problems from yesterday into today?
Mm.
For me, when I wake up, I try to think about something positive as far as with my business, with work,
Mm.
the day ahead. What am I going to do? How am I going to go about my day? What needs to be done? Um, Last week, I'm not going to even lie, it was very, 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 very challenging. Very challenging. Um, it didn't end very well either, but it was very challenging. And when you have those moments, all you can do is dust yourself off, get back up, and keep moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not going to be perfect. You're going to have those moments. But anyway, them thoughts you have, when people say that you have control over your thoughts, you do. You can practice the pause and take a step back, um, which failed for me horribly this weekend.
Mm.
I'm not going to even lie. I failed horribly
Mm.
at the pause, um, and the thoughts was just going.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when it comes to self-talk, be aware of those silent moments and what you're thinking about when no
Mm.
one else is around.
When no one else is around, sitting with your thoughts.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
So yeah.
We left off with overgeneralization, personalization. That's next. Personalization is when you are led to believe that you're responsible for things or for events that in reality are completely or partially outside of your control. So you blame yourself, or you take responsibility for things that are really outside of your influence. But it also means that you take things personally, unduly at that. So, for example, your child gets into a car accident, and you blame yourself for letting them go to the party. Right? That's personalization. So it's that voice saying, "I knew I shouldn't have let him go to that party. I shouldn't have. If only I told him to stay home. If I would have let him stay home, he would have never been in that accident." Labeling. Labeling is kind of like overgeneralization. Um, it's where you take a single attribute and you turn it into an absolute. So let's just say, let's just say you might say women who wear makeup are materialistic, or you say women who wear makeup are shallow, right? Or you say tall men are protectors. Like whatever it is, you're labeling a particular attribute and you're generalizing it as absolute. It cannot be, like, there's no conditions. It can't be broken, right? Um, I think that's all of the ones that I know right now.
What did you say? What was the first thing you just said? The last thing you just said? Because I wanted to
About
hit on. I'll having the thought that a generalized thought.
mhm.
Women who wear makeup is materialistic.
uh
Okay, is that what you said?
yeah, I mean,
Okay,
but it's not true. It's not true.
I know
That's
it's
the
not
thing.
true. You
And
know
and
what?
it's,
And we had a conversation before starting. You said, "I don't want you to take anything personal." I was like, "Oh, okay."
oh, see, yep,
See what I'm
dang.
saying?
Oh,
And
yeah, yep.
it just made me think about that.
I'm glad I said that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we generalized thought like all men cheat, all men are no good, all men.
Ooh,
Yeah,
ooh, that's a good one.
but
Ow.
that's
All men cheat. All
all
men
men
are
cheat, all
dogs.
men are dogs, all
Ow.
men. Yeah, the quiet ones or the dangerous ones.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah. what J Love just did. Cancers and Scorpios have negative thinking. She just did it right there.
Yeah, we do it with a lot of things, right? So what it really comes down to is, we come up with these thoughts, these assumptions, these beliefs, um, and it's usually the product of irrational thinking. They're not really accurate. There might be some truth to it, right? But a lot of the
Right.
time, it's dysfunctional, it's distorted, um, it's not healthy, it's not
No.
productive, it's destructive, right?
Right.
So it's not to say that we're going to be perfectly protected from them, but the idea is to become aware of them when they come up, right? So
Right.
again, it's knowing that this is not absolutely true. It's not absolutely true for me to be thinking like this, right? And we're going to get to that space where we start to figure out what to do about this, right? But I do have another question for the audience. Do you guys think that self-talk even matters, considering all this at this point?
Yeah.
Does it even matter? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I hear you, John, but
As a man thinketh, what is it? As a man thinketh,
as a man thinketh.
that's what
Yes.
he do. That's what he does. But that goes both for men and women. So that was just.
Oh yeah. So I
It goes
mean,
both
they
for.
were sexist back then. So
Yeah. I'm not
yeah,
putting men down. No, I'm not. I'm just
yeah. But yeah, there was a lot of sexism back then. But so we all have irrational thoughts from time to time, right?
Mhm.
And irrational thoughts aren't necessarily bad, but they can cause some distress and create friction in your relationships if you allow it to. So this is why I emphasize challenge, question, don't doubt. You don't have to doubt your thoughts. You don't have to doubt your feelings. Challenge your thoughts. Challenge your feelings. Question your thoughts. Question your feelings. You're trying to figure out whether you're having the correct feeling, the correct thought.
Right.
Because your thoughts, like, again, if we're humble here, just because you have a thought doesn't mean that it's yours per se.
Right.
Just because you have a feeling doesn't mean it's the correct feeling. Because you probably had a feeling on the false premise. So I'm just inviting people to challenge their thoughts, not doubt their thoughts. Okay. So let's just say, for example, you're out and about and a man is looking at you and you have this thought of, this man just looked at me and frowned, he probably thinks I'm weak and pathetic. That's
Ooh,
a thought.
that's deep.
Or, my husband was way too happy today, he must be cheating on me, right?
Ooh.
Or, my kids are way too quiet, they must be doing something bad, right? So we have assumptions, but then we also have irrational thoughts. And what we mean by irrational thoughts is, it's not a judgment here. We're just simply saying that the thoughts are not founded in logic, reason, or any evidence. All right. So let's kind of let's make a transition into positive self-talk, right? What is positive self-talk? It is that internal dialogue that makes a person feel good. All right. It is that internal dialogue that makes us feel good about ourselves. Now, it's not about tricking yourself into viewing everything as splendid. That's called toxic positivity. And that's basically the belief that no matter how bad the situation is, you must always remain positive. Now, that's not realistic. That's also
No.
not healthy. When you're submerged in toxic positivity, you're not allowed to feel any negative emotions. You're not allowed to have any negative thoughts. And the danger in that is you tend to lack empathy in the long run. Because if you're always focused on the good, you're always focused on the positive, when somebody's down, you say, cheer up, old pap, right? And it's ingenuine. Even though you might be well intended, you're actually doing more harm than good. You're not really meeting the person where they're at. So toxic positivity is not what we're aiming for. And it's not a trick, it's not a ploy.
Right.
It's also not about narcissism or deceiving ourselves into thinking things that are inaccurate about ourselves, right? Positive self-talk is more about showing self-compassion, self-understanding, giving ourselves patience, being humble with ourselves. It's really just about loving ourselves, right? It's about caring. Go ahead.
I'm still going back into childhood. If a child is growing up in a home and has not been taught how to self-love, um, they're going to have a hard time as an adult. And I believe that a lot of us grew up in homes and we were not taught self-love. So positive self-talk is probably something new to a lot of people. I just want to put that out there. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, I want to segue into self-doubt and self-talk. All right. Self-doubt is very normal. It's very normal. Even though we are in a culture that's sort of dogmatic about it, where they say you should never doubt yourself, always believe in yourself. Hey, hear me out here. Sometimes doubt allows you to reevaluate your self-efficacy, your abilities. Am I really able to do this? That doubt allows you to investigate that. Skepticism allows you to investigate. When you believe all the time, there's almost this pride that comes about that doesn't allow you to see your blinders, to see your weaknesses, right? Because you believe so fully. Not saying you can't do that,
Right.
but self-doubt can be a healthy thing if used appropriately, all right? Now, there is a consequence of regular self-doubt, and that could be imposter syndrome. Now, I've experienced that several times over. For those who don't know, imposter syndrome is when you have this self-deprecating mindset where you don't acknowledge your achievements. You basically relinquish any success that you've earned because you don't believe in yourself or your abilities. Now, self-doubt can also help you combat complacency. And it can improve our preparation and our performance too, right? So let's just say, for example, whenever I'm performing a poem at a live event, I have that self-doubt sometimes. It's a blend. I believe that I can do it, but I have my doubts. I listen to those doubts. I listen to them, but I'm only listening to hear where am I weak at. So if it says, oh man, you're gonna mess up here and here. Where?
Okay.
Sure. Oh, you're gonna mess up right here at this part. Okay.
Right.
And then I hone in on that part and I improve that. And then I say, all right, where else am I gonna mess up at? So I use my self-doubt to give me the feedback that I need to improve upon my design. My self-doubt tells me where I might be weak at. So the self-doubt should not be so paralyzing to where it keeps me from accomplishing what I want to do. All right. So if I have thoughts of self-doubt, I don't cling on to those thoughts as if they're true, but I listen to them. I say, okay, that's interesting. And the thoughts just come in like, man, you're gonna stumble up on this part right here, and they're gonna laugh at you when you say this part right here, and they're gonna be looking at their phones. And so that is my invitation to challenge all that. It's like, I don't care about anybody else telling me that. I'm not here to prove anybody wrong but myself. So if I have any self-doubt, it's me challenging myself. My doubt is challenging me, and therefore I challenge my doubt so I can become better. All right. So yeah, you can become
You created a whole scenario.
oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying you created a whole scenario before you went out on stage on what would happen. And none of that took place. That fear. What is fearing everything? What, I can't remember the acronym, not the meaning for the word that people are
False
using.
evidence appearing real.
Yeah, fear. And then you probably went out on stage and smashed it.
Yeah. Typically,
Yeah.
so I don't go for perfection, right?
Okay.
And mind you, this happens before a lot of performers, not just poets,
Okay.
not just rappers.
Right.
A lot of performers go through. We had a course about this stage fright, right? And we talked about strategies on how to overcome it. But one of the first things you have to do in order to approach or to resolve it is you have to accept that it's part of the process. Stage fright is part of the process. You have to embrace the fact that there's going to be self-doubt. Don't try to say to yourself, don't convince yourself that you're not supposed to have self-doubt. Don't do that, because then you're resisting, and whatever you resist persists. So you're just giving it more power by resisting it, instead of just saying, all right, this is part of it. I can do something about it though. So again, I get up there, and the other thing is, it's a call. You have to really listen to your thoughts and really just view them objectively. Don't give them judgments. And that can be very hard if you haven't done that before, because you don't want them there. So learning to just listen to them and just not be attached to them. Like, you have to really tell yourself that none of this stuff is true until you say it's true. Right? Nobody's opinion is valid unless you say it's valid, even your own. Right? So,
right.
Matter of fact, Maya Angelou once confessed. She said, I've written over, I think she said, I've written 11 books, but each time I think, they're going to find out now. They're going to figure out that I've run a game on everybody, and they're going to find me out. She came out and said that, right? And it's like, dang, you said that, right? And it's interesting how we're in shock towards somebody that we view as great, as if they don't have any struggles, right?
Yeah.
But that's what makes them relatable. You know, they have talent, they have skill, they have certain personality traits, right? And it's like, dang, but you've got 11 books, like you've done it, you did it already, right? So just imagine hearing Kendrick Lamar say something like that. And, oh man, you know, I'm on my 9th album right now. I don't know if I could do it again, right? So something else I wanted to talk about earlier, but I'm not sure if, well, no, you know, I think it's fair. I think it's fair if we do this. Can you guys differentiate your voice from everyone else's voice in your head? Did you tell yourself?
everyone else's opinions,
Mm-hmm.
and you push that to the side and have your own mind.
Matter of fact, I got you right here. Let's do this.
I'm looking and waiting.
Let's do this. So, when you guys hear the things that are going on in your head, do you know if it's your voice? Do you know if it's someone from your past? Was it your gym teacher? Was it your English teacher? Was it your pastor? Was it your cousin? Was it your uncle, your auntie? Was it your best friend? Was it your girlfriend? The voices that you hear, sometimes they're echoes. They're echoes from the past, right? We have what's called core beliefs, core thoughts. These are thoughts, like these are like the main seeds
Mm-hmm.
or consciousness that we acquire in our youth. And they take on different forms as we get older, right? So something like I don't know, you ain't shit. You heard that from your dad, or you heard that from your mama. You ain't shit. Then that turns into you ain't gonna be shit. Then that turns into kids ain't gonna be shit. Then that turns into, right. So it keeps evolving. That
Yeah,
consciousness
and then it
takes
makes you scared
on. It
because you
makes
get afraid, you get nervous. Like, are they telling you something true about yourself that's eventually going to happen? Like when I hear about people and how they grew up in these, their childhood was much different than mine. I
Mhm.
get certain words that trigger me, like stupid, dumb. Um, I won't even allow my own children to say them because they trigger me.
Mhm.
It takes me back to that moment where I was defenseless. I'm helpless. I couldn't help myself. And then you get afraid growing up and start to think, well, am I that way?
Mm.
You know, so and you will, that's where the self-doubt comes in. And then you have to tell yourself, you know what? No, you're not.
Mhm.
The self-doubt is a protectable barrier. Hmm. Could be either or.
So before I hop into that, right? So
Go
just
ahead.
going back, think back to the times where someone probably told you, think back to the times where someone told you, well, okay, you know what? I got a personal example. I remember one of my fourth grade teachers told me, oh my gosh, John, you are so modest. I didn't know what that word meant. I did not know what that word meant. I did not know what it meant. But I went to go look it up and I could not figure out what I did to get that compliment. But I latched
Okay.
on to that because it was how she said it. I was like, ooh, that's
Mm-hmm.
a good thing. Let me go look that up. And I held on to that. And I became attached to that concept where I was like, you know what? Yeah, I want that to be part of my self concept. I want to be a modest guy. And I also figured out the reason why she said that was because, I was smart, but I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't boastful about it at
Yeah.
the time. When I had the permit, like I had the freedom to do it, but I didn't do it,
You was
right?
humble with it.
Yeah. And it was just like,
You
all
was
right,
humble with it.
yeah, but it was just like, all right, this is just,
Is
this
this
is
who I am?
yeah, this is normal. Like this is what you're supposed to do. In my mind, that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to excel. You're supposed to demonstrate that level of intelligence, right?
Right.
But to hear that from a teacher, and then it's things from my mom. Your mom speaking life into you. folks from your social group, your peer group, saying, "Oh, that nigga smart," or "Such a nerd." But then you cling on to that, like, "Oh yeah, nerd ain't really a bad thing," So there's certain things that you cling on to, but those voices, you hear them from the outside coming in. So if I didn't have my peer group, my social environment giving me these ideas about who I am, would I still be who I am? Because there is a social influence on your self-talk, right? So this doesn't mean that it applies to every thought that we have of ourselves, okay? Because there are some unexplained phenomenon here. But I just want you guys to be mindful that every thought that you have isn't necessarily your own.
Mhm.
And this also calls for you to inventory your thoughts. So this is a segue into psychotherapy. All right. Psychotherapy is basically called talk therapy. It aims to help a person identify and change troubling emotions, thoughts, and behavior. Um, More specifically, cognitive behavioral therapy. I recommend that one. That one is designed to uncover healthy thought patterns and how they might be causing self-destructive behaviors and beliefs. All right. So we have therapies called talk therapy to address the narratives that are playing in our heads.
Right.
The narratives that play automatically that we don't pay attention to, but we know it's there. You wake up, you go to lunch, you take a shower, you take a shit, you scroll on social media. Narrative, bless you.
Thank you.
The narrative is constantly playing. Do you have any control over it?
Yeah.
If not, do you want any control over it? Do you believe you have any control over it? Are you a master of your self-talk, or is your self-talk a master of you?
Mm.
Right. So we should go ahead and get into some of this I guess some of this treatment, right? If you wanted to take a hold of some of your negative self-talk, you wanted to address some of that. First thing you have to do is, like I said in the beginning, it starts with self-awareness. Start with observing your thoughts. Just observe them. Listen to what you're saying to yourself. This is part of meditation. We did meditation a few weeks ago, right?
Yes, we did.
You're not trying to silence the mind, right? You're observing. Now, you can focus. You can focus on a specific point in your mind to where it's still and it's quiet, but the rest of it will still be chattering. Somewhere in the mind, there's going to be some noise, some static, okay? Because it's a very vast space. So observe your thoughts, listen to what you're saying. After you observe what you're saying to yourself, then you can begin to challenge your negative thoughts by asking yourself questions like, am I being overly critical of myself?
Mm.
What would I say to a friend in a similar situation? Or what would a friend say to me? Am I overreacting? Is it really only good or bad? Is there any middle ground? Is this thought even true? Is there actual proof or evidence for what I'm looking for? Is there actual proof or evidence for what I'm thinking? Are these facts or assumptions? If they're assumptions, are there false assumptions or true assumptions? Can I really know what other people are thinking and feeling? Why should I even care? Is there anything that I can do to change this situation? So these are some of the questions that we ask ourselves, right? What I've learned to do over time, this was I started this practice back in 2015. First, I would just become aware of my thoughts. This was not too long after I read As a Man Thinketh, and this was like my second year in college. And I took mindfulness training. I started observing my thoughts first, and then I would start questioning them. And then after a while, whenever I would have a negative thought, I'd be like, nope. I would challenge it, and then I would
Dismiss it.
kill it and give it a
Dismiss
different.
it.
Yeah. So that's something else to consider, guys, is you can fill your head up with all these positive thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't kill the weeds, if you don't kill those negative seeds in there, it's just going to be a crowded garden, a beautiful garden. You got to kill those weeds. It's going to be a beautiful, ugly mind. You want a beautiful mind, you got to kill that negativity. You got to challenge it. When it comes up, just challenge it. It's a question. And if you can't get the answer, it's not relevant. You don't even need to, you can't even entertain it anymore because you can't get an answer. Now you can, leave it an open-ended conclusion, but we're trying to be practical here. We're trying to be healthy here.
Right.
So after we challenge our thoughts, then we practice reframing our thoughts by using more positive words and phrasing, so we killed the negative thought and now we replace it with something more constructive, something more realistic. It might be something like, oh man, it's raining today. It's going to be a bad day.
You're predicting it for yourself. You're calling it into existence. Well, that's a whole nother level. But you speak into existence the things that you want to encounter.
It could be that, or it could be that, or the universe has a way, because the universe has a sense of humor. It's going to be a bad day, right?
Yeah.
And by the afternoon, it stops raining. And then somebody cash out you $60 or you got an extra check. Serendipity,
Yeah.
You got a girl's phone number, you got a man's phone number, somebody donated a pair of shoes to you, whatever, right? But you might have started off your day by saying, oh man, it's raining, it's going to be a bad day. And then the universe turns that whole thing around and it's like, is it still a bad day? I mean, it's 12:30, still got the rest of the day.
You know what?
You had a bad morning.
I had a challenging week. I hope this week is a lot better. I'm just going to put that out. I hope this week nothing but good things happen. It's been challenging. So I'm looking forward to a more peaceful, harmonious homeostasis, just week period. I want that. So yeah, that's my self-talk for the day.
By the way, guys, right down below, other ways for self-talk. You can record yourself. You can record yourself. You can do it in the mirror. You can write it down. You can have a self-conversation. I say that's important because you got to be. What's important here is: are you aware? Can you capture the thoughts? Can you see it? Can you document it? Can you recollect? Are you aware of them? Whichever way is effective for you, it doesn't matter as long as you can take stock of them, take inventory of them. All right. I like to write mine down sometimes, but I've gotten to the point where I don't have to always write them down. But I prefer to. I prefer to write my thoughts down, to capture everything, and and just go from there. By the way, guys,
I be forgetting to pump my own business on my own show. That is crazy. And I'm wearing the hat, the shirt. But yeah, I just uploaded some snapbacks tonight, right before we came on live. So those are the new arrivals that we have. So if you prefer to have a snapback, go right ahead. If you want the flex fit, they're there too. I did decrease my price just a little bit. You all right over there? You've been coughing awfully a lot.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, I've been wrestling with this fever since Thursday.
And you just not saying something about it?
Yeah, we're almost finished, so. We might as well wrap it up. Wrap it.
Well, go ahead and play some music in the background.
Shall we?
Yes.
You know, let's do this one.
What is J Love talking about? I love her.
So we gotta figure out what we're gonna talk about next week. I think we should wait for the rest of the tribe.
Yeah, everybody was just gone. It was just us. John called.
Oh, she said I got that Omicron. Well, I tell you what, funny. I got one heck of an immune system. I got one.
You do, because you work out, you eat right.
I eat okay. Queen will tell you, I eat okay. There's people that eat better than me.
Was that Queen? Tell her I seen her. Tell her I seen her. Where is that?
All right.
I want to thank everyone for jumping in on this week's live. Our two co-hosts was one is on a spiritual retreat. That's Diamond. My brother King Newborn is actually at the airport right now. His flight has been delayed at least 3 times. Tonight's show was about self-talk, and I hope you all was listening to John, because this was his show tonight. You know, I put my little 2 cents in it, and then he just takes it from there. I put my little 2 cents in it, and then he just takes it from there. That's all it was. And that's all that's been happening lately. Starting to feel some kind of way. But anyway, I don't know. We're going to wait until the midweek to actually post our next topic when they come back. I know we are moving back towards mental health, which we should, especially after my weekend.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
It was, John, it was pretty bad.
Okay.
You would be disappointed in me.
Yikes. Okay.
It was that bad. You would be disappointed in me.
Oh. J Love says she just beat Omicron.
John doesn't have Omicron. Don't be speaking that. Don't speak that of my brother.
I tell you what, though. I tell
was
I tell it to everybody. Even though I had that fever, I know I have a fever. People tend to forget, you have the fever.
Somebody's defense system. Yeah.
Oh, I wish I didn't have this fever. Oh, well, how else are you going to get rid of it? All right. Anyways.
Okay. All right. With that being said, peace out, and we will see y'all back here next week. Now, wait a minute. How do I do it again?
Oh, I got you.
Thank you.